Well, here we are, Gary. The season has finished just, and we're caught up in the celebration of Manchester City, but it's a good place to start, isn't it? Season number 30, how would you sum it up?
Do you know something, Martin? I've said all season, it's not disappointed to the end that this is the best league in the world at this moment in time, and it's given us the most incredible ending. And we'll start with the two teams at the top, and the team who have obviously finished top, Manchester City. That's hard work, that, always winning this league, but this season more than ever. They've had brilliant teams to play against. They've had an incredible opponents in Liverpool who've pushed them to the very end again. But they got there, and they've done it 4 times now in 5 years. And I think it's only Bob Paisley's Liverpool and Sir Alex Ferguson's Manchester United that have achieved that in more modern times. And it takes some doing, because it's easy to say they've got money. All the clubs, the top clubs have got money. Manchester United have got money. We know Liverpool have got money. They've got more money, Manchester City. But to get players to keep coming back every single year, to go to the end. They had that big problem a couple of weeks ago in the Champions League, and you wondered whether that would cause them some problems. But they've got over the line, and they're there to be shot at by everybody else. It's hard to get close to them. They've got Erling Haaland coming, so they've got real excitement. But I think in terms of this season, I have to say the quality of the football, the quality of the matches, all the way through the league has been at the highest level that I've ever seen. Credit to all the players, credit to the managers. We've got a brilliant Premier League, and I've been willing to criticise the Premier League on times in this last 11 years with Sky, where I've thought that we've not got the best football because of the money that's been spent. But at this moment in time we have, it is absolutely outstanding. We've got the best football, the best stadiums, the best atmospheres, and the best manager in Pep Guardiola, who's on our screen here. He's an incredible manager. I voted for Jurgen Klopp as manager of the year because of what he's done in a single season, and his achievements at Liverpool are absolutely incredible with what they're up against. But this manager is going to go down as one of the greatest in history. His style of football, his influence on the game, not just at this level. You've coached at all levels in English football, and I watch a lot of League Two games, and you're seeing centre-backs, split in their own boxes. He's influenced that more than anybody. So his influence just goes outside of what he's achieving at Manchester City. It's going throughout football, and that takes a lot to do.
And today, his substitutions have saved the day, really. I mean, because Liverpool weren't actually winning at the time that City went 2-0 down, it perhaps with hindsight doesn't look quite as dramatic as we felt in the stadium. But we felt sure Liverpool would go in front, and
yes,
indeed they did.
Yeah.
But then he brought Zinchenko on at half-time, Sterling next, and then the masterstroke was Gundogan.
Yeah, I mean, there was a point in the second half where I was talking nonsense, saying get Grealish on now, and they made the 3 subs. It was absolute shock in the whole stadium. You're right, Zinchenko's one was a necessity. And I don't think it was that much from a defensive point of view. Maybe a little bit. I think it was more from an attacking balance point of view. They just really were struggling through Stones at right back. And obviously Fernandinho did struggle a little bit with Watkins in the first half. That was a necessity. But then Sterling and Gundogan. Gundogan's runs from deep into the box. But 75 minutes will live long in my memory in this game, because I thought it's over. It's just a matter of time now. Liverpool are going to score. Pep Guardiola was slumped back in his bench in the dugout. The fans behind us and around us were in shock. They were done. They were gone. And then something happens, and the great teams, the great managers,
they smelt blood, Manchester City.
They deliver great moments. Yeah. They can pull something out. We had it when I was at United. Something that's a spirit, a feeling, the quality that you can't describe. You just have it. It's there. And Manchester City have it under Pep Guardiola. He's able to get that out of them. And the quality shouldn't be underestimated. The delivery of that last pass from De Bruyne into the box to the far post is world class. It's something that you want your best players to deliver in the biggest moments, and he did that. So well done to Manchester City. It's hard for me to watch Manchester City, to watch Liverpool on a personal level being as successful as they have been in this last few years. But you have to admire quality, and you have to admire the work that they're putting off the ball. Every time they give the ball away, they go to win it back with 100% effort. And that, to me, is the thing that impresses me most about these two teams. The quality is a bit of a given. You expect that.
The goals were all sweetly made, weren't they?
They are.
Clean as a whistle. When you think you'd be scrapping and scuffing and desperately trying to get the ball in the net.
Yeah, the goals are brilliant. There always are brilliant goals with Liverpool and Manchester City. But their effort and their desire every single minute of every single day, and the demands that these two managers are putting on these players, I say it is. We're seeing a Paisley, a Shankly, a Ferguson Wenger era. We're seeing it here beneath our, in front of us. We should respect it as it happens, because Jurgen Klopp and Pep Guardiola are delivering us greatness before our eyes. They really are, in terms of the way in which they're going for each other. Liverpool go to Paris next week in a Champions League final, so they've got to recover on a treble, a cup treble.
Yeah.
Which again, to do that is unbelievable. I mean, I'm relieved that they're not going to win a quadruple and a treble with the Premier League, somewhat. But really, that's just a Manchester United perspective. It's not really anything from a point of view of lacking respect for what they're doing, because what they're doing is top class. It really is. It's hard to do what they're doing at this moment in time, these two clubs and these two teams and these two managers.
Just a final word on Liverpool. Mo Salah came off the bench and got himself a share of the Golden Boot. And they'll be hoping, obviously, that he's fully fit for the Champions League final. Did you feel that probably Liverpool didn't really believe that City would lose? And of course they haven't lost, so
no. None of us
left
did.
Van Dijk out.
None of us did.
Yeah.
None of us did. I mean, Liverpool have done their job. They weren't in control of what was going to happen here. No one was. It was only the players on the pitch for City and Pep Guardiola's interference with his subs that could really determine the outcome of the league. We knew Liverpool would score. I had no doubts.
But that triggered the day, Pedro Neto scoring after 3 minutes at Anfield, didn't it, really?
Look, it's been a memorable last day, this. I was here 10 years ago. You were obviously here and delivered that incredible moment with the Aguero goal. I was in the studio thinking that Manchester United were going to deliver, or if you like, benefit from Manchester City's despair. This was equal with that in a different level in terms of like the timing of the goals were different. The Aguero goal was unbelievable in that last minute. But this was something special here today in terms of sort of a season finish. You don't see this all the time. And, just the spirit and the fight and the quality and the keeping going. We all have the opportunity every single day to work as hard as we can. But when we hit an obstacle, we then decide whether we keep going and continue to work as hard as they can. And City have done that today.
They certainly have. Well, let's move down the league a little bit. I mentioned Salah, Golden Boot. Son Heung-min getting a share of it as well with a couple of goals. We were joking at the North London derby that he'd said he didn't want the Golden Boot, he just wanted Champions League. He's got both, hasn't he?
Yeah, and I named him on Monday Night Football my player of the season because it could have easily gone to De Bruyne, because every time we watch him, we're blessed. Salah, easy, could be player of the season. I think I've actually named him as my player of the season in other quarters. But I just thought, Son, to do what he's done at Tottenham, and he does get respected, and he'd be taken by any other top club in the world, of course he would. But I thought he deserves something, Son. He's a special, special player. He gets overshadowed by everybody, even Harry Kane. But well done to him today. Well done to Tottenham. Well done to Antonio Conte.
I'd say Antonio Conte's been we've had him here before, but he's come back in, looked as though he didn't like what he saw, but now he's tilted it his way and Tottenham's way, obviously. We
were at the North London derby 10 days ago, and even if Tottenham hadn't have, if Arsenal had beat Newcastle, I still think Antonio Conte would have stayed because of what he experienced that night. Where are you going to get this competitive element, these atmospheres? Where are you going to get this in Europe at this moment in time? You're not. And Antonio Conte has done a brilliant job at Tottenham. He's been assisted by the capitulation of Manchester United and in the end, the fall of Arsenal. But he's done a good job, and he was always going to do a good job. And earlier on in the season, I was quite clear that I didn't think he should come to Manchester United, and I'm very clear that he isn't the right manager for Manchester United, in my opinion. But that you can say that someone's not the right manager for your club, but he's still a great manager. He is a great manager. And the others now have got Tuchel, Conte, Klopp and Guardiola. They're animals of managers, these four. They win trophies all the time.
They devour opponents.
They do. They're stood on that touchline and they can eat you up and eat you alive almost in the presence and their aura. And the rest of them have got a long way to go to get to that presence and aura. So it's a big challenge for the likes of Arsenal, Mikel Arteta, Eric Ten Hag at Manchester United, who comes in to take over United.
Well, let's talk about him, because we understand, was at Crystal Palace today and saw a continuation of the dismal end to the season.
Yeah, I mean, we've not seen the game, but you can imagine it, can't you? Crystal Palace beating Manchester United 1-0. It's been a desperate season. And Eric Ten Hag's seen a glimpse today, probably, of what the rest of us have seen all the way through. I don't think any Manchester United fans wanted to watch a Manchester United game in these last few weeks. We've almost wanted the season to end immediately and switch our attention to the summer and see how a new manager can come in with optimism. Apparently he's going to a press conference tomorrow, so we'll get the first real understanding of how he sees the club, what he saw today, how he views the job. But he's got a big job. Your expectation next season with the 4 managers and 4 clubs that are in front of him at the moment won't be too high. Yes, Manchester United will want to break into the top 4, but there'll be time and there'll be patience, because it's gone from 12 months ago. Manchester United were preparing for a Europa League final and finishing second above Liverpool. And when you think where we are today, I can't even explain it.
Well, everyone will give Eric Ten Hag a chance, but it's a big step up from even a great club like Ajax to come to Old Trafford.
It's a huge step up. It's a huge step up. Obviously, in Ajax, in Amsterdam, a great football club with great history, with a big fan base that expect. So he's had that expectation placed upon him. But you've also got a great chance of winning the league because of the fact that Ajax do spend a lot more than a lot of the other clubs over there. So, that's expected. But Manchester United have spent more than a lot of the other clubs and they haven't delivered. So he needs time. He needs that period of time to be able to settle into the club, get used to the club. It is a huge football club. And the media over here, the expectation, the Manchester United is always the story. People either want to watch Manchester United win or they want to watch them lose. It's a fact of life. And there'll always be the story, even in a sort of bad season like this, because there's an element of wanting to watch the disaster happening before your eyes, the football disaster. So, no, look, it's just needs to get the season over. It's done with now. That needs put into bed that season very quickly. It's been an awful season for Manchester United on and off the pitch. And
the Europa League is a step up from the Europa Conference, isn't it? So even in defeat, they got a little bonus from West Ham not being able to win at Brighton. Just a little word on Brighton, because that has been a stellar season for their ambitions. Brilliant.
And Graham Potter at times has been put under a little bit of pressure by the Brighton fans, but to finish where they've finished is a wonderful season. And even Leicester, just slipped in there in 8th position and sort of got up to a respectable finish. But Brighton, you're absolutely right. Graham Potter's done a great job. He really has done a great job. He's achieving the maximum, the absolute maximum with the team, just as David Moyes is at West Ham United. And you've got to respect those managers' performances this season as much as you have the rest, because of the fact that they're achieving the very best level that they can with the resources that they have.
Well, we were on the edge of many a twist and turn, but the one, I suppose, now set in stone surprise was that Leeds stayed up and Burnley didn't. No disrespect to either club in that sense, but Burnley playing at home ahead, if they just had to equal Leeds to stay up, and they've lost, and Leeds have improbably won right at the end.
No one thought Leeds would win at Brentford. None of us thought that it was improbable, as you say. But you've got to hand it to them. They've gone and delivered a performance on the final day of the season under the most extreme pressure. Leeds and Burnley today are under an extreme amount of pressure, because we've talked about it before. It isn't just sporting disappointment. Liverpool will have sporting disappointment tonight, but be proud of the season.
From the bottom of all our hearts, we will miss.
We're thanking Fernandinho, I think.
I think we are.
But at the bottom, the economic disappointment is devastating. You're talking, what's going to happen to Burnley now? A leveraged buyout. Talks of the £65 million needing to be paid back very quickly. And Leeds would have been in significant danger as well, or significant trouble from obviously from the finances side of things. So that was where the real pressure lay today at the bottom. I've never been part of it. I never want to be part of it. But well done to Leeds. They've been a great addition to the Premier League in these last couple of seasons from a point of view of the way in which they play, particularly under Bielsa. They're obviously a famous club, they're a big club. Burnley, under Sean Dyche, who deserves a special mention, have kept Burnley in the Premier League longer than probably anyone could ever imagine, with, again, the resources that they can call upon, their wage bill. And they sacked Sean Dyche only, was it 7 or 8 games ago, 10 games ago, and it's not worked out. It's not worked out, and it'll be a sad town in Lancashire today. And you wonder when Burnley will return. You do wonder when they return. You know, the type of
They
club.
did go down and bounce back again relatively recently, didn't they?
They
And
have
of
done
course,
with Sean Dyche.
we've talked about the parachute payments, and we don't really need to go down that road again, but that does give them a chance of sorting out their financial problems and maybe getting the players to get them back up again.
The parachute payments give you a far greater chance of returning to the Premier League than before, but you just wonder where that parachute money is going to go with this leveraged buyout. Is that money going to go into the team to invest, or is that money going to go to pay off debts or loans or other such things that exist in Burnley? I'm a little bit worried about Burnley Football Club tonight, to be honest with you, in terms of the next steps. We'll see what happens with the ownership and how it plays out, but it's a little bit concerning.
Final word from you on your season, not just that we've talked about the details of the Premier League, but how you see football. Premier League's had 30 years. You've got strong opinions on the way the game is governed. Have your final say on what you'd like to put across to the viewers and listeners.
Look, I think the Premier League is in a position of health when it comes to the extra money that it brings in, the atmospheres, the stadium, the quality of the football, I think, and managers is at the highest level that I think I've ever seen. But just got to make sure that with the governance of football, that the clubs that are in the Premier League look after the pyramid. The pyramid is absolutely imperative in our country, and it's now time, I think, through the fan-led review, through the call for a regulator, for the Premier League to do the right thing and to come together and look after itself and ensure that we retain the great football, the great stadiums, and that we retain competitiveness in Europe, but that we make the game sustainable right the way throughout. Because at this moment in time, there are great stresses. There are great stresses, and there are things that have gone in the last 2 or 3 years which aren't right. But we must very much, first and foremost, ensure that any restructure of English football that is going to happen, that the Premier League's quality and the Premier League being number one is absolutely a must, that we must continue with that. I'm not here to strip the Premier League of its money and hand it down through the pyramid. That cannot happen. I'm just talking about a fairer distribution, a better fit and proper owners test. We've seen what's happened this year with Chelsea. We know that there's lack of transparency and independence in the sort of, if you like, acceptance of the Saudi ownership into the league. Whether you're for it or against it, there should be a criteria that everyone knows about. You know, is that introduction of a new owner into English football, should it be a higher bar than just being able to buy a property in London? I think it should be. You're talking about these great clubs that in these towns and cities that mean so much, and they should be treated as such. So I think there's a lot of work to do in the next 12 months in terms of restructuring football. But what we do have at this moment in time is a fantastic league, a fantastic product on the pitch, a fantastic brand, and I don't like using those words at all, but it is. It's admired around the world. We've got La Liga at this moment in time challenging Paris Saint-Germain. La Liga. The amount of excess that, I think Barcelona are 1.3 billion in debt. Real Madrid, historically, who knows where they've got their money from to be able to fund their Galacticos and such players that they've had. So the idea that La Liga can complain about Paris Saint-Germain and how they can retain one of their players who's from Paris tells you the stresses that are in the game. There are real stresses in the game at this moment in time with Barcelona, Real Madrid, Juventus continuing to pursue the idea of Super League. The Champions League, it is unfair in which the distribution of that works. The UEFA are trying all the time to get closer to the Super League because they're worried about what's happening. We've got to stop this grab. We've got to come away from this grab on the game, the greed, the self-interest. It's a beautiful game, and it needs treating as such. And at this moment in time, it isn't always, because the people who are running it have that self-interest at heart. But today, to finish with, we have seen some exceptional football. We've just got to make sure that football doesn't eat itself.
Say no more.
Thank you.
Gary, thanks. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.